So today we are not going to take a lot of time. Just I'm planning to do it within 1 hour. Very quick overview of Swing applications and event handling in Swing application, and that's it. Okay, right. So that's it. We are going to do. So I have a very small presentation, just few slides. Then we will straight away go into the coding. Okay, right. So this is all about quick overview of Swing and event handling. Of course, the Swing is the subsequent version of AWT. AWT is old version, outdated version. I don't know why your BIT syllabus they are still keeping AWT. Anyway, okay, so we will be learning only Swing because all those things that you can do with AWT, you can do with Swing also. And Swing is better than AWT. So that is why we are now using Swing rather than AWT. Okay, and also we are going to do the event handling as parallelly because event handling we need some sort of UI to understand. Okay, right. So this is what we are going to cover: overview of Swing, Swing application or Java Foundation classes, overview of event handling in Swing applications. Okay, right. So there are two types of applications or application architectures, what is known as standalone applications where everything is in one place, or network based applications where you are connected to network. So that can be either client server, peer to peer. And again there are the standalone application, though we call it in one place. Sometimes the database can be in different place, but still usually we call it standalone, or sometimes we call this rich client application. So where the client side has some installation of client side has lot of UI, processing logic, etc. Whereas in this case usually the client side is very thin, just usually it is the browser, but here client side has lot of heavyweight things. Sometimes even everything is in the client side, so then we can't say it's a client side applications. Even sometimes the database also is there, everything is in your client or your client machine. Okay, so the Swing applications are usually this side where you have rich clients, right, rather than everything is happening in the server. Fair amount of things, so everything is happening in the client side. Okay, so that is where we have standalone applications. You can develop standalone applications using Java Swing, Java FX, Microsoft.NET framework. So likewise Visual Basic, etc. We can create standalone applications. Okay, right. So let's discuss how to develop standalone applications using Java Swing, and of course using event handling. Right. Again, only the overview is given, but I am going to make you understand this concept. Okay, right. So I already explained those things. So when it comes to client side, there are different approaches. Either you can go for AWT, or you can go for Swing or Java Foundation classes. Now of course there's a third approach as well, Java FX, which we are not going to cover in this session. Okay, and of course we are going to have clients handling side also, because the application must respond to different events in the client side, like click on submit button, click on close button, your mouse movements, etc. Okay, right. So again, as I explained you, the old approach is Java AWT, the new approach is Java Swing. So Java Swing was introduced about, I think, 20 years back, not 20 years, about 15 years back. Therefore I don't know any reason why we must learn or use Java AWT when we have Swing. Okay, so I have given you some comparison. Java AWT is platform dependent, whereas Swing is independent. Those questions they might ask in the exams. Swing is more lightweight than AWT. Swing support pluggable look and feel, whereas AWT does not. Swing has more components than AWT, and also Swing support MVC architecture, which is a plus point. Right, so that's it. So we are not going to cover any spend time on theory. We are just going to now do some hands-on coding using Swing. Okay, right. So you don't need any software or whatever, just your Java JDK is good enough to do your Swing programming. Right. Just give me 1 minute. So I am straight away, I will explain the concepts while we are doing the coding. Okay, so I am just going to take a command prompt. Right, so I'm going to do the coding in my D code folder in D. I'm changing it to D, CD code. Right, so I'm going to write our first swing code program. So I'm starting Java. Say let's say 01 hello swing dot Java. I'm using Notepad++. No ID I'm using because I want to know exactly how the things are happening. So I'm creating a class hello swing. Okay, so now I'm going to create the application. I'm going to have a main method. Right. So I will show you first how to create a form, because form is the basics. Again, I am going to cover only basics only. The idea is to give you the understanding. Okay, so now here you can see we have windows, right? So this is a window, right? This is a window. My command prompt is another window. Now if you take this one, this is another window. So in Swing application, these windows are called frames. Okay, so this window is called a frame. So therefore I'm first going to show you how to create this kind of a frame. Okay, right, so this is how you do that. The other thing is all these swing classes are in JavaX swing package, and we need little bit of AWT classes when we are doing the event handling, because AWT already had the event handling. So therefore swing is just used in the event handling libraries in the AWT, but we are not using AWT UI components. We are using AWT event handling, and of course we are using swing as the components. Okay, right. Import javax.swing. I'm importing entire package so that I don't have to import separately. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Jframe. So Jframe is a window. Okay, Jframe is a window. Jframe is a package class available in Java X Swing package. So I'm going to say Jframe. I will call it my frame or whatever, any name you can give. It's object that you are going to create, or Jframe object equal new Jframe. Okay, so that is how you create a window, right? Window. So then it will not just show, just because you create a class like that, it is not going to create a object like that, it is not going to create your frame. So let's compile this and run it first. So I'm going to compile Java C. I'm just using star.java so that I don't have to type the names each and every time. Right, now I'm going to run it. Java. What is my class name? Hello swing. Right, you can see nothing has happened. Right. The thing is, until we ask it to show or make it visible, it is not going to make it visible. Okay. So therefore, now I'm going to say the Jframe class has a method called set visible. Right. So I'm using the reference dot set visible. You have to say true. You have to say true, then only it is going to be get visible. Okay, right. Now I'm again compiling, running. Now you can see the window has appeared, right? You can see small window is appearing here. That is my frame. The reason is reason why it is appearing like this is by default my frame size is 0 by 0. Okay, 0 by 0. Now I'm going to close it. This is the window, right? If I can even maximize, right? But now I just close it. So therefore now I'm going to set the size before making visible. So I'm going to say my frame dot set size you have to give the, there are this is a overloaded method. There are different ways you can give the size, but the easiest way is give the width and height. I'm going to say width is 300 pixels, height is 400 pixels or something like that. So likewise, you have to do these things practically. This is not rocket science. Okay, I just close it. I'm again compiling. I'm again running. Now I got the window. Right now I got the window. So that is how you create a window or Jframe in using Java Foundation class or Swing. Okay, so I hope you got it. Right. So now when you close it, by default the close operation is also now the maximizing can be done, minimizing can be done, but you can close. But when you close, still your application is running. Still your application is running. So here you have to kill it again. So in order to prevent that, we can set the default close activity or the default close property also. You have to say set. You have to set the default close operation. So I can't remember each and every line, so therefore I'm just copying some codes from some here and there. Right, my frame dot set default close operation. So there's a constant in Jframe class itself called exit on close. We are just setting that exit on close property to the set default operation. So there are different things you can do at the close operation. So what we are saying is at the closing you have to exit. Okay, we have to exit. So now again let's compile it and run it. Now I got it back, but now when I close, my application must be terminated. Right, now you can see. So now we are done. So now we know how to create a window, set the size, make it visible. Okay, I have set it twice. Make it visible and also set the default behavior for the close operation. Right. So that is how Swing Jframe is created. Okay, Swing Jframe is created. So that is your first Swing application. Right. Now we are going to do the same thing, but when we are having so many windows, etc., usually you don't code everything in your main method. What we do is whenever we want a frame or window, we create our own class for that. So that is the best practice. So we are going to do like that. So I am going to create another class now. I will call it my simple frame .java. Okay. Right. So I am going to create a class my simple frame. I am going to extends Jframe. Remember previously I created Jframe object, right? But then I don't have a lot of flexibility because that is the default behavior. But when I create my own object by extending Jframe, I get more flexibility. Okay, I get more flexibility. So this is the best practice. And of course, if you are using Jframe and Swing application things, you better import Java X Swing package. Not you better, you have to. Okay, otherwise they will say Jframe is not found. Okay, and now what you can do is usually you write your code in the constructor so that when someone create object, your frame is created. That is the best place to put it rather than put it into a method. Okay, so I'm going to create a constructor now. You know what is constructor. We did object oriented programming, right? So I am going to do the coding. Okay, now this class I am going to call from another class because this is I am not going to have main method or anything here. Okay, so I am going to create another class now. Let's call it 02 hello swing 2. Okay, hello swing 2 because I am going to do it in different way now. Yeah. Okay, so this is, let's call it hello swing 2. Okay, so I will call this hello swing 1. Right, hello sim 1 and hello sim 2. Okay, so I don't know, anyone is waiting in the room. Right. Right, so today sorry, there also I am going to and say no, create the main method. But now I am going to just create object of that particular class. So that is a normal way of doing programming. So I am going to create a code object of this particular class. My simple frame. Let's call it mf equal new my simple frame. Okay, right. So then here I have to write the code that I wrote previously. So therefore I'm just going to copy and paste it from there. These things you don't have to create a frame object now, just you need to set those properties. Okay, set those properties, that's it, in your my frame class. Now you don't have a reference because your class has all these methods inherited because you are also Jframe, so therefore you don't have to refer to something like this. You can just set those things, otherwise again we are going to get the default behavior of just a tiny window, right? So therefore I just set the size because I have the set size method available because my class is a Jframe class. This is inherited, I am just calling that method, inherited method. Set visible also I am calling, set default close operation also I am closing because my simple frame is a Jframe. Okay, right, now let's do it again. I am going to compile it again, everything. Now I am going to run, not this one because this one is not having main method. This is just my form or my Jframe. I'm calling this, I'm creating instance of this one in hello swing, let's say hello swing 2, and I'm going to call that. So I'm going to compile it again. Right, so now I'm going to call hello swing 2. When I call hello swing 2, it is going to create object of my simple frame. The my simple frame has, in the constructor I am setting the size, setting it visible, and setting the default close operation. Okay, so it's, now let's run it. Right, I get the same result, and with the default close operation as well. So this is better actually. Here you have just your main class where you are doing all the other things. You are just creating the asking to create object of a my frame, frame object, your my simple frame. You know that my simple frame is a frame, that is inheritance, right? So therefore when you extend from Jframe, your class is also Jframe class. Now you can change your default behaviors, right? Rather than you create a my Jframe object, this is much better when it comes to developing complicated UI applications. Okay, right, now you know two ways how to work with the Jframes. The first way is you can create a Jframe object and set those properties, right, and ask it to make it visible. Other approach is you are creating a class, extending the Jframe class. There you set all your properties and things like that. From other application class, you just create a object of that. Okay, right. So then this is just a window. So the window itself is not going to work unless you have some component like text fields, buttons, radio buttons, checkboxes, etc. So now let's see how to work with those things. Okay, so this is the class hierarchy, right? This hierarchy, what we just created is a Jframe, right? Jframe. So that is a window, special type of window, right? From this side we have something known as J component. So these J components are components, and of course every class in Java is implicitly extended from object class. Okay, now you can see if I want to have a button, I have to go for J button, right? So J button is a J component, J component is a component, and of course component is object, right? So if I want to add a text field, right, or something like label, I have to add a J label. J label is a J component, J component is a component, component is object. And of course if some interface is asking for J component, I can send a J button because J button is a J component. So that is what is known as polymorphism. Okay, so the frames are here in this side container, right? Containers, we have the frames, dialog in the Windows side, and in the applet side we have the applet, right? So this is for applet programming, this is for normal standalone application programming. Frames and dialog, which are container, of course applet is also container. These are the individual components. Likewise, so I had to look at the big picture and understand this. So what we did so far is creating a Jframe, okay, this container class. Now to that container we are going to add maybe just one or two, because I am not going to do a lot of things with you, right? So that is what we are going to do. Okay, right. So now what we are going to do is I am going to add a button, right? I am going to add a button. I am going to use this particular second approach, right? Not this approach, second approach, which is this one. Okay, right. So now I have the frame. Now I am going to introduce a button to this one. So the best practice is put it as a instance variable. All your component in your frame, add them as instance variable in your Jframe class. So this is my Jframe class. Okay, so I am going to say I need a J button. I will call it let's say OK button. Just give meaningful names. So this is just a reference variable. You have to now create the OK button or whatever. You can say B1 or whatever. Okay, so this is how you create a button. You can say now reference variable is there, but still I haven't created the object. I am going to create the object here. Or if you want, you can create it here also. But best practice is create it here. You just keep the reference variable here. I will explain why we want to keep the reference variable as instance variable. I will explain it later. Okay, right. So I am going to create a J button object. J button object. J button object. Okay, so again still J button object is created, frame is created, but still I haven't added to the frame. So that we have to do now. So we have to say our frame has a method called add method. To add method, I am going to add it now. Okay, to add method, I am going to add it now. So add, which is inherited from Jframe, right? So I am going to add my OK button. Okay, so when you are creating OK button, it's better to give it a name also, label. Otherwise there won't be any label. I will just say OK. Okay, I'm just going to say OK. Now I have added to the frame, right? Added to the frame. And also we have concept called layouts. Different layouts are there. I am going to say I am not going to use any layout. I am going to just position my component using XY coordinates. So therefore first we have to say set layout to set layout, that means layout of the Jframe to, I am always calling the methods available in Jframe class. So those are inherited, therefore I can just call it. Okay, if you want you can just say this dot, but it is an optional thing. Set layout to null. So that means don't use any layout, just use the default layout. Okay, then I added this J button to the our Jframe, which is my simple frame. Okay, right, now let's see. I'm going to compile it again. Okay, J button. So somewhere spelling mistake is there. JBUTTON. Okay, double B is there, J button. So I'm going to compile it again. What is that error? Okay, so I have to create a J button object. I didn't use the new keyword. That's it, right? New J button. Now it should be solved up. Okay, now it is compiled. Now I can remember this is not having a main method. My main method is in my hello swing 2, right? So I'm going to call the hello swing 2 now. Java hello swing 2. Right now you can see, okay, still button is not there. Why? Add. Okay, so button I want to now position, so I forget to position it. Now I have to say where this button should appear, so that I am going to do now. So that you can use using set bound method, right? Set bound method. Otherwise it doesn't know where to put this button, right? Where to put this button. And also we better set this visible and those things after doing the adding the button. Okay, so therefore I'm cutting it and putting it somewhere below, right? So after adding button to the frame, then only we are going to ask it to make it visible. Okay, right? So set bounds has four attributes: x value, y value, width, height. Okay, width and height. Now you can see here currently my window is 400, 300 by 400. Okay, 300 by 400. So that is width 300, height is 400. Okay, so I am going to set it somewhere here now, somewhere inside. I don't mind where, right? I am going to say make it x somewhere here, 100, y maybe 100 again, or maybe 200. That is somewhere here, right? 100, 200, somewhere in between. Then I am going to say I need my OK button to have a width, let's say 50 or 75, and height somewhere 50. Okay, right? So that is how you make set bounds for my OK button, not V1. To my OK button, set this. Then I am going to ask it to add. Right? Then only I am going to ask it to add. So I set bound. So I set where it should appear. So when I say it, this top left corner, right? So I just gave the x value, y value, that is these two, then the width, this one, and the height. Okay, this x point, y value, width and height. Okay, right? So now I have added to the frame. Now I have asked the frame to get visible. Okay, now let's see whether I can see the form now, form with the button now. I'm going to compile everything. I'm going to run hello swing 2 because it is creating this my simple frame object. Okay, why it's not, button is still not appearing. Okay, let's make it public also in case. If you can see error, just let me know. Maybe sometimes I may be blind to my errors. Have I saved it? Yes. Okay, so we have to make that constructor public also. Right, I just made my constructor public. Now you can see what button has appeared. Okay, so likewise now you can put up all what you want right here. But first I am not going to discuss about those other components. Now I am interested about event handling because I just got one button. Okay, I just got one button. Now I am going to explain you how to do the event handling also, because our topic is event handling and swing, introduction to event handling and swing. Right, now you know how to create a frame, right, using default layout, how to add a J component, in this case OK button to this one. Okay, right, now let's discuss the how to do the event handling. Okay, so if you have any questions up to this point, you can ask any questions about these things. So and also we can't waste our time also, therefore if you have any questions at any time you can disturb me and ask. Okay, so it is not actually disturbing you, at any time you can ask. Right, so now I have only one button. Of course if I want two buttons I can go for two buttons as well, but anyway later I'm going to add one more button. Now we are going to concentrate more on event handling, then we will come back little bit onto the swing components. My task is just to give you the understanding. Of course I know that in the exams they are going to check whether you know the concept, right? Do you know concept, do you know what is really happening, right? Rather than remembering here and there කටපාඩම් කරලා මේවා කරනවා වෙනුවට, right now I am going to explain you how the event handling is done in Java. Okay, so for that again I am recommending you to go to the Java Point site. Of course there are so many websites, they have separate topic section called event handling, right? AWT and events. So we are not using AWT, right? You can just refer to your note. note එක පාරක් කරගෙන යන AWT component කියන්නේ මේවා තමයි. අර වගේම අර J කැලල නැහැ. ඒකේ තියෙන නිකම්ම frame, label, button කියලා swing වලට ගියාම J label වෙනවා, J button වෙනවා. Other than that nothing is different. So therefore I am not doing AWT because when you do swing you have covered AWT concepts as well. Okay, so there you can see something called event handling. So there are different event listeners, right? Action listener, mouse listener, motion listener, item listener, key listener, window listener, etc. Okay, so what we are going to discuss is action listener. Okay, action listener. Again, you can use this event handling in different ways. Of course if you don't know your object oriented programming you can't understand these things. Okay, those who know object oriented programming, these are really right. So this is how we are going to do it. There's a concept called action listener or the listeners. Okay, so this I will explain you the concept first. Now we have our component, right? We have a window, right? We can have buttons, we can have text fields, etc., right? Text fields, etc. Now we have to say that these, when an event occurs, someone like clicking, for example let's say something like this, say I am going to run it again. Now when I click on this OK button, right, nothing is happening because no one is listening. Actually this is listened by Java environment. Or your Java runtime environments knows that this button was clicked. Okay, but still in our application we have not expressed that we are interested about that event. Of course the Java environment knows that this OK button is clicked, but in our program we have not expressed that we are interested about that event. So that we have to do now. So that is why we have concept called listeners. Okay, listeners can ahang inna. So we have to write a listener, right? We have to write a listener and that listener is going to listen to it. Okay, then when Java environment got that event, detect that that event happens, Java environment is going to call your listener because you have expressed that okay I am interested in listening to this particular thing. Okay, so just understand the concept, right? So now I am going to do that, right? I am going to do that. So I am going to do something like this. First I have to tell in Java application, I have to say that this is the listener which is going to listen to this particular component. Okay, for that we have a method called add action listener. Okay, add action listener. So I'm going to use that one. So because I don't want to make this too much complicated, so therefore I'm going to create another class. I will be sharing the code with you after the class, after the session. I will call this third one 3 hello listener dot java. Hello listener dot java. Right. So I am going to just create a frame like this one, same as this one. I'm just going to copy paste. Right. Let's not use 03. Just let's say hello listener. Okay. Right. So I will call it hello listener. It's just a Jframe. I will call it hello listener frame. Okay, hello listener frame. And I'm going to call it hello listener frame 1. Okay, because I'm going to explain it in 3 different ways. Okay, so therefore I'm just going to call it hello listener frame 1 or hello listener frame 1 Java. Right. So this is nothing, and of course in my main method I'm going to call another thing hello swing 3, or I will just call this hello swing, because at different time I just have to call different classes, right? At different times I have to just call different classes. So therefore I'm just calling from here rather than my simple frame. I'm going to call that class. Okay. Okay, anyway, let's call the third one 03 listener demo 1 dot java. Like listener demo 1 dot java. So this is going to be just like this one. Of course here you don't need swing packages. Right, so this is listener demo 1. I am going to create object of hello listener frame 1, right? Hello listener frame 1. That's it. Okay, right. So I'm going to close all the other windows. Right. Now I have J button. In my frame I have a J button. Okay, nothing else. Now I'm going to just compile it and double check whether it's working again. I'm just closing this. I'm going to compile everything. Okay. Hello listener frame. Okay, the constructor is wrong now, obviously. So this is my class now. So therefore the constructor must be same as your class name. Right. So it's always good to code a little, test a little. Okay. Then you can easily find the issues. Right. Compile. Obviously this is same as my previous example. Listener demo 1. It is. I should have the button. Okay, not listener demo 1. Okay, I have not saved it, so I have to compile it again. Right, so this is just as the previous one, nothing. Now we are going to do the event handling. Okay, right, so that is why we wanted. Right, now this is what we are going to do. Okay, so I am going to say this is one approach. I am going to say I am in I am the one who is going to listen to these events, right? So I am a listener. So what is this is, you can say this is a Jframe, right? And also I am going to say I am a Jframe as well as I am a listener. You know that in Java programming there is no way to do multiple inheritance. So my objective is I want to say I am a Jframe. Okay, now you know that this one is Jframe because I have extended from Jframe class, right? Extended from Jframe class. This is hello listener frame. Hello listener frame. Of course, we know that that is a Jframe because I have extended from Jframe. And also, I want to say that my class, this class is also is a listener. But we know that in Java you can't do that. You can't say extend from this one and that one. Okay, so Java has is single inherited. So therefore, what they have done is they have declared this listener class as an interface so that I can realize it or I can implement it. So fortunately they know that limitation, so therefore they have implemented this as a frame, as an interface. Therefore what I have to do is I have to implement listener. So in this case I am going to implement action listener. Action listeners are capable of listening to actions like click on a button, etc. Okay, so therefore what I am going to say is this one is not only a frame, this one is also a action listener. So how to do that? We have to say implements action listener. And of course this event handling was in Java AWT class, right? So we are just using the AWT listeners, right? So therefore I have to import that particular class as well. Therefore I am going to import now AWT event, right? AWT event other than swing, right? This is for UI, but events are these action listener classes, etc. are in Java AWT event package. So therefore I imported that also. Otherwise I will get a compiler saying it doesn't know what is action listener is. Okay, right, now we are pretty much done. Okay, right, now I have to say, now you can see this hello listener frame one is a Jframe and also it's a listener, it's an action listener. Okay, now when something happened to this button, of course Java runtime environment knows it, but now we have to say that okay, when something happened to, when action happened to this OK button, please report it to myself because I am a listener, right? So when I say myself, hello listener frame one, now we have to ask, because otherwise Java runtime environment is not going to report it to this particular class. So therefore now I have to say that of course now I am a listener. Now I am going to say add action listener. I am just copy and pasting. Right, add action listener, right? OK button. So that is I am doing it for the OK button, right? OK button dot add action listener. So that means I am adding action listener to the OK button, right? And what is that listener? Listener is also myself because I am going to listen to this. So therefore I am going to say this. So this means myself, right? So that means if OK button has any events associated with action events, report it to myself or this particular class or the object itself. Okay, so that is what we did. Then there's another thing we have to do. When your class is implementing a interface, there's a contract. We discuss all those things when we are doing object-oriented programming. If your class implements an interface, you have to implement each and every method in that interface. Otherwise, you are going to get a compile error. Okay, right. Now let's see whether we are getting that compile error. Right, you can see is not abstract class does not override abstract method action perform. Now you can see you are saying that you are implementing action listener. If you are implementing an action listener interface, you have to implement each and every method in that particular interface. Action listener class has a method called action perform. So therefore, unless we implement this action perform method, you are not allowed to be action listener. So therefore, what we are going to do is we are going to implement that method in this particular class. Okay, so let's implement that. Then we are not going to get that error. Say public, all interface have all the public methods. Public void action perform. Right, action perform. So in action perform method, there's an attribute. You can refer to JDK API documents to get the methods in action listener class. So it has a parameter which is action event. Okay, which is action event. So we have to write the exact parameter as the interface. So therefore, we have to use that also. Okay, we have to use that also, action event. Now we are done. We have implemented the method, but we are not doing anything. Now you can see I am action listener, so therefore I am implementing that method, right? Because if you are action listener, you have to implement that. Okay, and also we have asked our Java environment for OK button. Action listener is this class itself. Okay, and of course this is action listener. And this if something happened to some action event happened to this OK button, report it to this class itself. Okay, and of course I am action listener and I have implemented this action perform method, but still I am not doing anything. Therefore now I am not going to get any compile errors, but still nothing will happen. Okay, right, so let's compile. Right, no errors. Now let's run it again. Hello swing 2. Now when I click on OK button, nothing is happening. Actually, when I click the OK button, I have asked in this now when I run it, this is basically running of this program. Okay, so when I click OK button, I have asked Java environment that okay, this OK button's action listener is this class, and of course this class is action listener, and I have implemented the action perform. So basically now Java is keep on calling this action perform method whenever someone click on this, but only thing is I have not done anything here. Right now I can write whatever the code that has to happen when someone click on OK here. So that code has to go there. So let's put up a system out println and see whether this is getting called. System.out.println, let's say hello, just to see whether we got the control here. Okay, system out println hello. Let's compile it again. Now run it again. Now look at the command prompt. So whenever someone click on OK button, Java knows that this class is interested about this OK button's actions, and this class is genuine action listener. It has implemented the action perform. Therefore, Java runtime environment is going to call this particular method whenever someone click on the OK button. Okay, now let's see whether that's happening. Look at the command prompt also. Okay, why not? So that means something is not still happening. Otherwise, I should get the system out println. So that means something not happening. Add action listener. This, have I saved it? Yes. Hello swing, I am running hello swing. Which one I am running? Hello swing 2. Let's double check whether I am calling the correct one. Hello swing 2. Yes, in hello swing 2 still we are calling. So we don't have to call hello swing, sorry. What we have to call is what? Listener demo 1. Okay, sorry. We have to call the listener demo 1, not the hello swing 2, because hello swing 2 is not having any event handling. Java hello listener demo 1. Okay, now that is the one that is having this listening functionality given. Okay, not this one, sorry for that. Okay, right. So now let's see whether we are getting the event. Now you can see every time I click on OK button, there's a system out println is now happening because we are just saying hello. Now events are handled. Now events are handled. When someone click on OK button, whatever code written here will be executed. Right? Whatever the code written here will be executed whenever someone click on the OK button. Okay, so that is how your class become a listener, right? And so you have to do two things. You have to say that you are a listener, and there are different type of listeners. Here I registered myself as a action listener. I am not only Jframe, my class is action listener as well. Then if you are action listener, you have to implement action perform method, right? Because that is the only method in this particular interface. There you are going to get if someone is registered for your class to be the listener, then this method will be called by the Java runtime environment. But it is not going to happen automatically. Your components must be individually set that you must this class must be my listener. So therefore my OK button I install, this is my listener, right? Okay, my J button has a method called add action listener. To that I told this is the place you have to handle my events. Okay, so therefore now I am getting the all the events. Okay, this is one way of doing that, right? This is all about object oriented programming. Learning swing is nothing, learning event handling is nothing. The serious thing is learning object oriented programming. So that is why we did those things taking a lot of time. මට පන්තකයි පැය 3ක් session දෙකක් තුනක් දාලා කරේ, right? So because we know that that is where you have to spend your quality time, because these are nothing for someone who knows object oriented programming, the concept called inheritance, concept called polymorphism, etc. Okay, so this is one way of handling events. Now rather than, if you know how to do action listening, you know how to do key listeners, window listeners, mouse listeners. अरे ये भाई मैं mouse move करने वाले हम listen करना, okay? Your idea thing is learn the concept. Okay, right? So now let's do it in a different way, right? So because it's very important, the key is understanding, not to memorize. So what we are going to do is we are going to create hello listener frame 2, right? Hello listener frame 2. So I'm just going to copy and paste this copy paste hello listener frame 2, and in this listener demo I am going to call the hello listener frame 2 rather than creating so many classes here and there. Okay, 2, just to make simple, otherwise I need another class, etc. Or just let's create one so that you have all the examples nicely. So let's keep it as listener 1. Right. So let's create another class also here, listener demo 2, copy paste for listener demo 2. So listener demo 2 is calling the hello listener frame 2, right? Demo 1 is calling the frame 1, demo 2 is calling the frame 2. Okay, so then it's easy and better, right? Now we are done there, right? So now let's move on to our not one, not this one. Yeah, so let's move on to our hello listener frame 1. Now I am going to implement it in different way. So rather than saying I am a listener, I am going to say my listener is a different class. Okay, right? So this is one way of doing that. The second way of doing that is I am going to show you 3 ways, then we are done. Okay, so I am going to create another class now. I will call it my action listener .java. Okay, my action listener.java. So I'm going to create class my action listener. I am going to implement action listener, right? Action listener. Of course, if you are implementing action listener, you have to import all those classes. Event class. I'm going to actually import both swing and AWT event in case swing is also needed. Right now, if my class is action listener, I have to implement action perform method. Okay, which I'm going to write. Otherwise, I'm going to get compile errors. Right now, what I'm going to do here is this is demo 2. This is my frame 2. So not frame 1. I want to have the frame 2 now. I just created the frame 2. Right. In my frame 2, I am not going to say that I am a listener now. Right. I am not a listener. I am just a Jframe. I am just a Jframe. So therefore, I am not listening. I don't have the action perform. But here I am going to say these OK buttons actions must be listened by object of this particular class, my action listener class. Okay, my action listener class. So that is what I am going to say. Rather than here, I am going to say I can just create object here, new my action listener. So that class is going to handle all the action listening for the OK button. Right? Earlier, myself. හරි සාමාන්‍ය එහෙම කරන එක ටික අප්සෙට් නේද? ඔයා ෆ්‍රේම් එකට ඔයාගේම UI තියෙනවා, ඔයාටම ඉවෙන්ට්ස් උත් වෙනවා නේද? ඊට වඩා ලස්සනයි කියන්න හරි. ඔයාගේ ඉවෙන්ට්ස් OK බටන් එකේ ඉවෙන්ට් හැන්ඩල් කරන්න වෙනම එක්කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා, වෙනම ක්ලාස් එකක් ඉන්නවා. So that is going to do that. So what is that class? My action listener class. So that instance of my action listener class is going to handle my OK buttons action events. Okay, that is why we are having an action listener, right? So now whenever event occur for this OK button in my hello listener frame 1, it is going to be listened by my action listener class, object of my action listener class. There I say hello. I will just say hello 1 2 3 just to say whether we are now the new listener is getting called. Right now I am going to compile it again. This is second approach. Okay, why? Hello listener frame 1. Okay, so you can't have the same class, same name for twice. So I am going to call this hello listener frame 2 because the previous class has hello listener frame 1. Right. Now that error must go away. Yeah, constructor must also be the same as your class name. So you can see we don't get confused because we are familiar with these error messages. So that is why we have to say when you are learning Java or programming database, you have to do it practically. Another one. Okay, listener demo 1. So it has to be listener demo 2. Okay, right now all the errors must go away. Right now I can run my second approach, listener demo 2. Listener demo 2 is calling hello listener frame 2, right, which is this one. There it is not listening to anything. The listening is going to be done by my action listener, right, that one. Okay, so there it says hello 1 2 3. Okay, Java listener demo 2. Now you can see hello 1 2 3. Now these events are listened by this particular my action listener class, which is action listener, and we have registered that the OK button must, the event action listener of the OK button is instance of my action listener, right? My action listener is this one, which is action listener, and it is just listening to it has the action perform method. Okay, right? So that is how you do it. So that is the second approach. Now I am going to explain you the third approach as well. which is using anonymous anonymous classes. So anonymous classes we discussed when we were doing object oriented programming. Okay, so that is the third approach. So for that I am going to create another class, another frame. Let's call it hello listener frame 3. Copy, paste, frame 3. And here I am going to say demo 3. Copy, paste, 3. So let's do all the changes first. So this must be demo 3. It must call the third one. Okay, otherwise we forget. Then let's go to the frame 3. Let's change it to frame 3. Right, now we are going to do different things. We are not going to call a different action listener. We are not going to register it to a different action listener, and also we are not going to say I am a listener also, right? So because when you are calling another class, it's too much coding and different classes are introduced. But when you say you are also listener, that is also too many things you are doing. The third approach is your event handling part is implemented here itself, right? Here itself, right? So that means we are going to create an action listener class here, and that class is going to be implemented here itself, rather than you have implementation like this. Sorry, like this, right? Because you can see only we are doing just small thing here. Just when we are doing a small thing here, no point no point creating another class like this. Okay, because that is you are adding more and more classes. You are just doing small event handling. For that you are creating another class. So why don't we do it here itself? So that is the beauty of using the anonymous classes. We are not even giving it a name. We are just creating a class on the fly, and we are implementing the method. So therefore your Java runtime environment is going to just call that anonymous instance rather than name class. Okay, so then it is the very clean code, and also that is the normally what Java programmers do, right? This is this third approach is the most popular approach when it comes to professional Java programmers. Okay, right. So now what I'm going to do is look at closely. Now if you have not done anonymous classes, of course you are not going to understand this. So in the YouTube I think I have uploaded the object oriented sessions. So there you have the anonymous classes explained. So I will show you where to find that if you are interested. Right, under videos there are a set of videos for Java. You can find object oriented revision. There I have explained how to work with where is that? Yeah, it should be somewhere there. Yeah, somewhere there you should find a video for object oriented programming. Okay, which one is that? String wrapper classes, digital circuits. Right, it should be somewhere there, right? I can't find out where is it. It should be somewhere there because I did it for you. Okay, right. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create a object of anonymous class instance of action listener. Okay, action listener. So this is how you write it. Look at closely. Now I am going to say new action listener, right? Then I am going to implement the class here itself, because I just have to not the class interface itself, because it's just have the action perform method. Okay, right? So this is how you do that. Now within a curly bracket I am going to create the class, right? Within the curly bracket I am going to create the class. Curly bracket, I am going to end the curly bracket. Right, now I am going to write the method here itself, that is action perform method. Then I am done. Right, so that's it. right? So I create an instance of action listener anonymous class which has implemented the action listener interface, and this is the implementation of that particular method, the action perform method, which just says hello, let's say 3 to 1. Okay, so this is the third approach, and this is the preferred approach because this is, you don't have to implement action listener here, and also you don't have to create a separate class which implement the action listener. Okay, so therefore this is the preferred approach, use of anonymous classes. You may have been wondering why we are learning those anonymous classes, inner classes, nested classes at that time. You can see these are really practically useful. Okay, right, now let's now we are done. Now let's compile and run it. So I'm going to compile everything. Invalid method hello listener frame 2. Frame 3 class. Yes, obviously this must be frame 3. Constructor must be same as class name. Right, now let's run. Now we have to run the we have to run the demo 3, listener demo 3. Right, now let's see. Now you can see still we are getting the events actions 3 to 1. So 3 to 1, I just make it rather than 1 2 3 3 to 1, just to check whether the correct one is correct. Right, now you can see this is very easy way to do. Of course I have explained 3 ways now. So let's close everything, and I will, because now we are pretty much done. Right, so I wanted to do it in 1 hour. I will take another 20 minutes to finish this. Okay, just 1.5 hours. Right, so now you know how to handle events. This is one way. You become action listener and you have to implement this. Then you have to say this is my action listener. Okay, the second approach, you create a separate action listener class. Right, separate action listener class, and ask that, okay, that is my action listener class. Then again you don't have to be action listener. Okay, but you have to create this listener class by yourself. So the third approach is the more elegant approach. You don't become action listener, you don't create a separate action listener, you use anonymous classes. So on the fly you create a class which has implemented the action listener interface, and it becomes your action listener, and therefore you can write the code here. Right, you can write the code here itself, and whenever some action happen to OK button, this particular method is going to be called. Right, now you can see we are not dragging and dropping. Right, no, we are not doing something like that. We are just professional programmers. We know exactly what is happening, right, and we code it rather than dragging and dropping and blah blah blah. Right, එහෙම අර cutie බබාලට තොත්ත බබාලට තමයි එහෙම ඇදලා පුදලා software develop කරන්නේ. So we write code according to the object oriented concepts. Okay, right, now let's add 2 buttons rather than 1 button. ඊට පස්සේ මම චුට්ටක් ඔයාලට මෙනු එකක් දාන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා පොඩි ඇප් එකක් හදලා වැඩ ඉවර කරන්න හදන්නේ. Right, so let's call now this one new. So I'm going to just copy paste this, copy paste. I'm going to say listener, I'm going to say this one, calc app. This is the last example we are doing, calc app. Okay, so there I'm going to explain you how to create a sort of application now, calc app. Right, so what we are going to do is we are going to add a text, we are going to add 2 buttons. We are going to create something like this now. So we have text saying and enter first number, text field, enter second number, text field. Then we are going to have add button. Right, so then we have the sum here. When you say add, these 2 numbers will be added and put it there. Right, so then I'm going to have another button saying subtract. when you click on subtract, these two numbers will be subtracted and put it there. Okay, that is what we are going to do. So I am not going to code everything. You can just add one more button, two text fields and two labels. Okay, those are J labels, J text fields, etc. So I'm going to show you the code now rather than writing it by myself, because I don't want to spend a lot of time with you because your exams are also nearing. What is that example? Yeah, calculator form. I'm just going to copy this to here in my code. Okay, so let's call calculator form rather than calcap, so that I don't have to code it again. I will explain because I have explained everything now. I have imported swing and events. So I have three J labels, right? Labels. I have three text fields and I have three buttons. Okay, so I'm just using the professional approach. Instance variables, three J labels, three text fields and three J buttons, right? In my constructor, I'm setting the layout to null. Now I'm creating a label text field. So this is the first name label and the text field for that. Then the second number label and text field for that. Okay, the third text field, uh, label and text field, that is the result. Then I am adding the buttons, J buttons, three J buttons. First one is called add, second one is called sub, third one is called clear, right? So you just have to look at these xy coordinates properly. xy coordinates පොඩ layout කරගන්න ඕන කොලේ එක. හරි, දිග පල්ල මෙච්චරයි. මෙයා මෙතනට එන්න ඕනේ. මෙතන xy coordinates, metan xy coordinates. So same y coordinates must be the same, x coordinates must be somewhere there, then the y coordinates must be different, same x coordinate. Likewise you have to lay out it. All right, so now you can see that right here. You can see this is the label, this is the text fields. So 50-50, this is 250. Y coordinate is the same but x coordinate is somewhere there, right? You can adjust, right? කරලා බලලා පොඩ්ඩක් එහාට මෙහාට කරලා හදාගන්න, right? And then you get, so that's it. Okay, so up to this point, so forget about all this event listening. Then of course you have to add those things, right? Everything you have to add to your Jframe. You set the size, set the visible, set the close operation. Okay, if I just cut this, now you should understand up to this point, right? You should understand up to this point, right? So just we add few more things. Now let's save it and run it. Close, compile, right? Now we can run Java. Of course you need a class to call that, so let's call it calculator form. I'm just going to undo this, otherwise I will lose it. But this is not compiled, so let's call it calculator form demo. Copy, paste, 5 calculator form demo.java, right? So it should call this calculator form rather than calculator form, right? So let's, anyway, event handling part is also there. But I am not going to explain the event handling right now. Let's compile it again because I just created this class. Okay, listener demo, calculator demo. Okay, so this must be calculator form demo, calculator demo. Let's compile it. Okay, Java calculator demo. Right now you can see the text fields are there, sorry, labels are there, text fields are there, and the buttons are there. Okay, buttons are there. So that is what this one is doing, right? Forget about this these things for the time being, right? So that is what this UI is doing. Likewise, now you should be able to build your own UIs. Now we are just doing the event handling, right? So now we are using that anonymous class approach because that is much more easier. So I am saying that this add button, its action listener is this particular anonymous class instance, right? For the submit button, this is the anonymous class implementation. For clear button, this is the anonymous class implement. Of course, you could have done it in different ways as well. You could have say add this, then your class has to become a implement the action perform, or you can go for separate class. So those possibilities are there, but here we are using the very simple thing. Now we are getting the so those jtext fields have method called getText, right? These jtext field components have method called getText. So we are getting the text, but by default it gives you as a string because I want to add two numbers. Now I am converting it to double. We did all those things in utility classes. Then I am getting the second text. I am converting to double. Now I am adding it because now the values are double. Now I am converting it back to string and call it the set text field, right? Get text field. Similarly, we have set text field for text jtext fields. I am just setting the result to that. So I am doing the same thing here. Only thing is I am subtracting. When they say clear, click on the clear button. I am just setting the text of those three text fields to empty or just blank text. Okay, so that is self-explanatory. Now let's see whether that is happening. So because I have already compiled that, let's say 10.5, 6.8, I am going to say add. Now it's going to say 17.3. Okay, 17.3. When I say subtract 3.7, when I say clear, it is going to clear it, right? So 6 and 10, it's going to say 16. Now it's going to say -4, and now it's going to clear, right? So simple event handling, right? Very simple event handling, and you must be able to understand each and every line. Understand each and every line. Never write a code without understanding a line. Then you are not going to work. It's not going to work, right? So we know what is happening to final year students. So some of those students are vanished now. Actually, last Monday was Sunday evening was the deadline. Why? They can't handle these complexities, right? මේ වගේ ෆෝම් එකක් හදන්න නැතුව ආ හිතනවා software එක develop කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. Java වලින්. හරි? මේ code එක තේරෙන්නේ නැතුව අඳුර අතපත ගා. So no one is so that is not going to work. That is not going to work. You must be able to understand each and every line. Okay? Right. So that is how you do that. අර විදිහට කරනවා නම් ඔයා you can action අනිත් පැත්තෙන් කියන්නේ මෙහෙම anonymous classes වලට යන්න නැත්නම් then you have to understand which, or you need to way of finding which command is giving you the call in this particular method. For that we have a specific way of doing that. So I will just explain that also using my existing code. Right, now you can see now in this case my action listener is myself, right? Myself, but I have two buttons now. Two buttons, hello button and hi button. Of course, if you go for anonymous classes, no issue, right? You separate, you will get it. But when you have just action listener is yourself, now when OK button is called, this action perform is called. When the hello button is called, because this is the listener for that. When hi button is called, this is the listener for that. When both the cases you are getting this action perform method is given access or is called. But now we want to know which one is actually clicked. For that kind of a situation, if you are not going for anonymous classes, you have to have a method called set action command. So you can just give it a unique name, right? So set action command. So here I am saying hello. Here I am saying hi. For the hi button I am saying hi. For the hello button I am saying hello, right? So then that is why we have this in the parameter. The parameter has a method called get action command. So it is going to return hello when the hello button is called. It is going to call the hi when the hi button is called. So therefore I can just write a switch or if else condition, then I can write the separate logic separately. So I could have implemented our application also like that. Then that is this calculate application, rather than going for anonymous classes, I could have just say I am an action listener, then I have to write my action performed below this, then I have to set the action command here, then I have to check the action command and write the logic in different switch statements. I have to write these codes separately. That you can do it as a exercise. Okay, right. So before finishing this, because I am not going to cover everything, I just gave you the basics, so that just now you know how to work with J button, J text fields, J label. You can think of, or you can just have a look at how the radio buttons are used, checkboxes are used, and of course, rather than action listener, how to become a key listener, how to become, because this concept is the same, how to become a mouse listener, how to become a window listener. So my task is to give you the understanding. Okay, right. So before finishing, I'm just going to show you one more examples. I'm going to share this code with you also, how to work with menu items, right? Because menu is something not in your form, somewhere else. So I have a simple class called JMenuDemo, which is just calling the Jframe with menu code. Okay, so I'm just going to copy those two code here, JMenuDemo and Jframe with menu class. That's it. Okay, I'm just going to copy these two and put it here. Right, so I'm going to close everything. Close this. So I'm just going to explain you how this works, then we are going to stop. Right, so this JMenuDemo is just calling the object of Jframe with menu. Okay, now let's go to the Jframe with menu class. So there we have a concept called menu bar, right? Menu bar, menu and menu item. Okay, menu bar, now you can see this is a menu bar and this is a menu, file menu, edit menu, right? Then these are the menu items, right? So these are the menu items. So menu bar, you can have multiple menu bars in your frame. Of course, that menu bar can have multiple menus. That menu can have multiple menu items. So we have a menu bar, just one menu bar, two menus and a few menu items. Of course, we are going to have sub menu also. If you want, you can have multiple menus as well. So first we create a menu bar in the constructor. This one is a frame, right? It's a menu bar is created. Two menus are created, right? For the now we are creating menu items. Menu items are something like this, right? Menu items. Then we are adding the menu item 1, 2 and 3 to the first menu, that is our menu, and also to the sub menu I am adding I3 and I5. This sub menu is added to also to the menu. Now my menu has 3 menu items and sub menu. Okay, and to the menu bar I am adding the menu, right? I am adding the menu. Then I am setting that this is your menu bar, right? So because I am a Jframe, I am asking my Jframe, this MB object is your menu bar. Then my Jframe is going to have the menu. By default, your menu goes to the top. If you want to change the location, there are methods, but by default, when you just call the set menu bar, it is going to lock into the topmost top left corner. Okay, right. So then of course you are just setting the size of the from layout to null, set visible true and set close operation. Forget about the action perform for the time being. So let's compile and run it again. Right, Java. So what is the class? This is the class JMenuDemo. Right, now you can see there is a menu here, right? So this menu bar has only one menu, item 1, item 2, item 3, and of course I have a sub menu also connected to this menu, item 3, item 5. So likewise you can add more menus to this menu bar, right? So I just had one menu, right? You could have had some more menus as well, right? You can just create another one. Say this is called menu, you can say menu 2 likewise. Okay, then you can add different menu items to that. Right? Let's call it menu 1. Menu 1. So the menu bar I could have at the second menu also. Menu 1. Okay, so let's compile and run. Okay, why menu 1? Okay, I have to create a menu. Menu 1. Declare it menu 1 and the submenu. Okay, menu 1. Because you can't create object unless you have the reference variable. Now that error must go away. You can see when an error comes, we don't get excited, right? Because we know we have the experience. So that experience you have to get by doing coding, not by looking at notes, right? මනෝ Java කරන්න නම් එපා. හරි මනෝ විකාරයක් බවට පත් වෙනවා ටික දවස් යනකොට. Right. So now let's run it. Java menu Jmenu demo. Right, now you can see the second menu is there. Still I haven't added any menu items, right? So because I just add the menus. Likewise, now we can add the other menu items as well. Okay. Right. Again, now when you click on a menu item, right, you want to invoke something, right? Some action has to be happen. So that is again easy. Now you know the concept, right? Now you know the concept. Again, what we are going to say is, we are going to say that for these menu items, right? These menu items, we can say, okay, this is, you can say I am the action listener, or you can go for different class. Or here I have implemented anonymous class. I am going to say li is my Jmenu item 1. I am going to say add action listener. I am using the anonymous class again. Rather than going for a different class or writing a different method, I am going to say action listener. I am implementing the action listener here itself as anonymous class object, and when the action perform is occurring, so I get the notification, right? So in this case, I have it only for the menu item 1, right? Menu item 1. Of course, if you have set the command, this name is appearing as your by default your command, right? By default your command. So now you can see that when menu item 1 is selected, menu item 1, you can say selected item 1, right? But we are not listening to 2 or 3, right? We are only listening to menu item 1. So that code you can write it here, where you can open another dialog box or whatever. J dialog box I didn't explain you. Now you should be able to do that. Okay. So likewise for L2 also you could have written something like this. L2 add action listener, etc. Then the second one is also menu item is also notified. Now menu item 1 is notified. Menu items 2 is also notified. Likewise, so these are not difficult thing for those who know the concept. Okay, right. So what you can do is you can very quickly go through the Java point tutorial now, and of course your slides. hari මහා පතරංග ජාතිකයක් වේ slide ටිකක් දියා දිනවා. හරි ඒවා ඉතින් උඩින් බලා ගන්න දැන්. හරි ඒවා ටික උඩින් බලා ගන්නයි තියෙන්නේ. So let's quickly look at Java. Now what you can do is go to the swing and look at these things, right? You have the JList, JTable, combo box, radio button. Now you can just take these examples and run by yourself, right? Just copy paste these examples and run it, right? Run it. So when you are having, this is radio button දාන්නේ button group එකට දැකලා ඇති නේද? හරි මේක ඔයා just copy paste කරලා මේක run කරලා බලන්න. හරි ඒ වගේ දැන් ටක් ගාලා ඊට පස්සේ event වලට ගිහිල්ලා go to AWT and events, layouts ටිකක් චුට්ටක් බලා ගන්න. layouts වල නම් ටික විතරක්වත් ඔයා බලන්න කොහොමද mouse listener එකක් implement කරන්නේ. key listener එකක් කියන්නේ text box එක key press කරාම එම. හරි key press කරාම එන key listener. එතකොට එකම වෙනස මොකද්ද? Now it is not mouse listener, you have to implement key listener. Key listener has a different methods. For example, you have the key press, key release, key type. එතකොට ඒවට events notify වෙනවා. ඔයා register වෙලා තියෙන ඔයා තමයි ඒකට listen කරන්න කියලා. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔයාට anonymous classes වලට යන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් කතන්දරේ කියලා ඉවරයි. Now it's up to you. Okay, right. So we are not going to do a lot of things. I just gave you the concept. Now you must be able to, if you have the talent, if you have the capacity, if you have the intelligence, you should be able to understand all these things. Okay, understand, not memorize. Right, so we are going to stop. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions before finishing? Okay, so I will upload in the recorded version after the in about 30 minutes time. Okay, and with the code. Okay, so then stop because I don't want to take a lot of your time. Okay, thank you.